Hey guys, how you doing? Hopefully you're doing okay. I'm not going to read through the full article here. It's actually very, very long and very, very detailed. It is an interesting read. Should you have the time to go through all of that, there's a link in the description. So this is not going to be as thorough a review or such as it could be. But I will be giving you a lot of the details nonetheless. So it's in regards to an historic case. I think that would be the right term. The murder of 6-year-old Rikki Neave. Here is Rikki, 6 years of age. Rikki Neave, who was murdered in 1994. And this happened in Peterborough, which is England. And it is, as I say, there's a lot of detail. I'm not going to go through quite all of it. I might be doing the topic a little bit of a disservice, but not too much of a disservice, hopefully. Here is the murderer. Here he is as a young man. So he committed this heinous act. He murdered young Rikki when he himself, James Watson, the murderer, was 13 years of age. He's only just been convicted. He's just been convicted. He's been jailed for life with a minimum term of 15 years. So I'm going to comment on that. This, again, is an English case. And I am taking issue with the English judicial system. Your sentencing is shit. Life in prison, great, good, happy with that. He killed a 6-year-old boy. It should be nothing less than life in prison. That part, well done, UK judicial system. Here's where you fall down. You always have this fucking potential for parole, a minimum term of 15 years. So that means that he will be able to face a parole board at the point of having served for 15 years. Actually, less than that, because 2 years, 4 months will be removed from that 15 years. So that's time that he spent on remand. He may not have even been jailed during that period of remand. I'm not quite sure. I think maybe even remand means that he wouldn't have been jailed. Remand, a defendant on bail or in custody, especially when a trial is adjourned. Okay, so he may or may not have been in prison for those 2 years, 4 months. I'm not entirely sure. But either way, he may face the parole board in less than 13 years. And again, he murdered a 6-year-old. I'm angered by that. I don't understand what's wrong with the United Kingdom judicial system in regards to your sentencing. Why are you doing these potential for paroles after too short a period of time? It's not good. To go back to the article, the murderer, James Watson, was 13 years of age when he lured schoolboy Rikki to the woods near his home in Peterborough, and James strangled Rikki to fulfill a morbid fantasy that he had told his mother about 3 days before. So this guy is seemingly sick in the head. Seemingly. He has sick fantasies, morbid fantasies, and sexual fantasies of young boys. James Watson stripped Rikki and posed his naked body in a star shape for sexual gratification, deliberately exhibiting him near a children's woodland den. So, as far as I understand, there's no evidence, there's no suggestion that James Watson sexually abused Rikki. He did not, forgive me, rape Rikki. However, Seemingly, he forced Rikki to strip at the scene. There was a button found, which goes a long way to confirm that Rikki was forced to strip naked at the scene. And all of this was for James Watson's sexual gratification. That is what is believed. And posing Ricky's body once he was naked, I believe once he was dead, in a star shape, that was also for sexual gratification. Boggles my mind. I don't want to go there. But yeah. He's a sicko and was a sicko even at the age of 13. The article tells us that his sentence was determined largely by the age he was at the time that he killed Rikki. So here I am moaning that life is great, getting a life sentence, that part's great, but the minimum term of 15 years is low because he was only 13 when he committed the crime. I mean, personally, I don't feel that that's a valid reason. This guy, the crime occurred in 1994. This guy has been free as a bird since then. He's had run-ins with the law. He's been accused of other things that we'll look at in a moment. But he's been free. Why should he be given a pass? I don't buy it. That, to me, I would not give him a pass in this regard. Maybe I would feel differently if he was punished at the time. If he was punished when he was 13, maybe I would understand some kind of opportunity for parole after 15, 20 years or so. But given that he's lied, he's denied, he's pled guilty, and he's lied to the investigators time and time again, and he's gotten away with it. He's been able to enjoy his youth. He's been able to have an adult life. Why should he be given a break? I don't agree with giving this guy a break. So I'm not going to go through the full details as I mentioned, but the murderer, James Watson, he was questioned by police at the time, but he was largely overlooked. He was ignored. He was ignored because the police at the time had the belief that Ricky's mother was the guilty party. And indeed, Ricky's mother was jailed. If I understand correctly, oh no, she was jailed for 7 years after admitting child cruelty. So she was not found guilty of killing Rikki, although I believe she faced a trial as such. I may have that point wrong, but she was jailed for 7 years after admitting child cruelty. So she admitted to attempting to strangle Rikki. She grabbed him by the throat, put him up against a wall. There were some other attacks, but she is not guilty. Factually speaking, she is not guilty of being involved in Ricky's death in any way. So that's another part to the story. The fact that Ricky's mother was the prime suspect, and the police failed to adequately investigate the young James Watson at the time, because they had a theory that Ricky's mother was the guilty party. So what do I say there? I mean, mistakes happen. I do have a lot of faith with investigators, increasingly so in modern days. This happened in 1994, so that's 28 years ago. So nearly 3 decades, with new advancements in technology, new advancements in strategy, protocol, processes. Things have advanced significantly. But it does seem that errors were made in the initial investigation. But, these things happen, errors happen. I don't mean to be too flippant about that, but at this point in time, I think it's fair to, to be a little bit understanding towards the investigators. It certainly wouldn't have been a purposeful act to let the culprit go. They would have had good reason to believe that Rikki's mother was violent towards him. She's admitted to such. But unfortunately, it was a red herring. They went down the wrong path. I'm going to go through some of the details in regards to the discovery of Rikki's body. Rikki's body was found by a police officer in the woods. After his death, he was stripped naked and the body was laid out on the ground, spread-eagled. A button was missing from his school uniform shirt. A matching button was found on a leaf near the body, showing clearly that he had been undressed at that location. Rikki was only 6 years old. The article also tells us about the difficult childhood that the murderer had. And here's a statement from the judge. I cannot be sure that the two boys ever met before the time around the date of the killing. So it is possible that the murderer did know Rikki. It's possible. It's not known for sure. I am sure that in the period before the murder, James Watson was thinking about it, planning, and even talking about the placing of a naked body of a strangled child in those woods. So apparently he spoke to the murderer spoke to his mother about his fantasies to kill a child, if I understand correctly. I am also sure at the time that James Watson had a sexual interest in little boys. I am equally sure that a warped interest in strangulation in sexual activity is demonstrated in the evidence of a teenage girlfriend of James Watson. So a girlfriend of James Watson has said that he was violent during sex, that he strangled her, and I don't know the full details. The judge said there was no sexual activity directly linked to Rikki, but that the stripping and posing of the body pointed to a sexual interest. The bizarre stripping was undoubtedly seen as a manifestation of that sexual interest. So, to wrap things up, James Watson was found guilty of murder in April. The jury deliberated for 36 hours and 31 minutes after an 11-week trial. So that's quite a long time to deliberate, 3 days. Well, hang on, more than 3 days. I mean, what am I talking about? Day and a half. Well, that would have been over a few days, yeah. And that's really as much of the article that I wish to go through. There is a lot more detail there, but I think that will do it for me. So I'm going to wrap things up here, guys. I've not really covered too many articles referring to historical cases. I've not been aware of this case previously. It's odd. It's very odd. It's very disturbing. It's very dark. I mean, and of course, it's very sad. A lost soul, Rikki Neave. So, I mean, full condolences to the family, the sisters of Rikki, the two sisters of Rikki. They've had to grow up knowing that their brother was murdered, and that's been a cloud for them. And this will act as some closure for them. The mother too. Can't feel too sorry for her, or I can't feel 100% sorry for her. She did admit to treating Rikki in a very cruel, abusive way. I can't really feel too sorry for her. But at the same time, she did lose her own son. So it's terrible. It's terrible. I would not give this guy parole. Why? I mean, he showed a very strong sexual interest in young boys from a young age. I mean, I'm no psychologist, but to me, that he's going to remain a danger to society, I would have thought. Why would you want to let this guy out of jail? I just don't get it. You don't owe him that. He took the life of a 6-year-old boy. Society doesn't owe him freedom. Society has a right a responsibility to protect its citizens. And with that, when you catch criminals that are murderers, that are seemingly pedophiles or have pedophilic fantasies or such, sexual interest in young boys, why the fuck would you want those people on the streets? I don't get it. Gonna wrap things up here at this point, guys. If I've done a half decent job, I reckon I've done a half decent job. Not the best, but a half decent job. If I have, please do like, comment, subscribe, share the video as you see fit. And I'm going to thank you very much for your time.